Welcome to Successful Philanthropy. I'm your host, Jean Shafiroff, and today's show is all about animals. And as many of you know, I love animals. We all love animals. And with us today is the Executive Director and President of the American Humane. Her name is Robin Ganzert. She's a powerhouse. This is an international charity that was founded in 1877. The work of this organization is absolutely phenomenal. Robin, thank you so much for joining us today on Successful Philanthropy. And Robin, can we start off first by telling our viewers a little bit about American Humane and exactly what American Humane does?
Jean, thank you so much for having me. I'm so thrilled to be here with you. You know, American Humane is what we all grew up when we thought about humane organizations. It was American Humane, actually, as our country's oldest national humane organization. It was founded way back in 1877, and it was founded for the cause of farm animals. Believe it or not, that was the time of the railroad systems, and herds and flocks are being transported across our country without food, without water, indeed without any humane treatments that we take for granted today. And it was American Humane who promulgated the first transportation laws.
Well, that's wonderful because we all worry so much about farm animals. And so here American Humane was back in 1877,
Yes.
working with America's farm animals to make their conditions better. I can't think of anything more noble for animals back then. And another question, back then, did people have dogs and cats as pets the way we have today, or was it very different?
It was very different. We talk about how our dogs in our lives went from, the barnyard into the bedroom, and that's what they've really done, particularly over the past 30 to 40 years. We know that our companion animals are indeed our furry best friends, and they live in our houses with us. How lucky are we to have all of our wonderful animals now inside our home? So again, many of the rules and regulations and protections we take so for granted for animals, especially our companion animals, were promulgated by American Humane. So for over 143 years, we've worked to advance the cause, to be the real voice for animals, not just farm animals, but companion animals, animals in wildlife, animals working in entertainment. Indeed, wherever an animal is, American Humane has strived for 143 years to be its voice.
Well, I find it so interesting that one of the things you do is protect animals on movie sets, TV sets, and I think our viewers would like to hear a little bit about that. Can you explain a little bit more exactly what you do? Because protecting work animals, not only animals on farms, but in working environments, I think is so important.
Thank you for that. And actually, wherever I go, people want to ask right away, what about your No Animals Were Harmed program? Is it truly safer to be an animal star than a human star? And actually, when I do talk to celebrities, they will tell me that animal had greater protections on them sets than they have had. We've been working now for 80 years with all of the major studios, the major productions and entertainment, not only in our country, but indeed around the world, where we go on set and we are truly the voice for those beautiful animal stars. I know I fell in love with animals by watching those Disney movies, and it was American Humane on the set to make sure those animals were protected. And indeed, we are 80 plus years later since Henry Fonda stepped up and said, animals should be protected. We need American Humane in Hollywood. And we've been there, and it's a thanks to Henry Fonda.
Now, you are an international organization, and I happen to be involved in your organization. But before we discuss the program that I'm involved with, when we say international, what does that mean exactly? Are you in Africa with elephants? Are you protecting elephants? Are you in, I don't know, South America? I know you're in the United States. I've seen a little bit of some work in Africa, but can you explain to our viewers a little bit about your international work?
We are indeed international. So when we see an animal in crisis, an animal who needs protection, it's American Humane, boots on the ground, making an advancement and improvement to that humane treatment. I've done an extensive amount of work in Africa. I've done an extensive amount of work in Abu Dhabi, in the United Arab Emirates. We've done an awful lot of work throughout Europe. And certainly we continue to do our work not just in the United States, but all throughout North America. So when you think about American Humane, particularly pre-pandemic, my colleagues, who I have the privilege of working with, these humane heroes, are in 20 countries any single day working to advance the cause of animals.
And what about animals going extinct? I understand the American Humane has put out a new movie on the extinction of animals. Can you go into a little bit about that movie and how it was viewed, I don't know, in 80 theaters in the United States?
Yes.
I think our viewers would love to hear about that movie because I think it's probably something that all of us should go and see.
Jean, first of all, I know you have a huge heart for animals, and I know you love your
do.
dogs.
I love my dogs.
I also know you love and appreciate and just have a huge heart for the megafauna, those magnificent creatures that we see in Africa and that we see on all different continents. Majestic and wonderful creatures. And we know, those of us in the animal space, that we are facing what scientists call the 6th mass extinction, where 1 million species will be wiped off the face of this planet in our lifetime and in our children's lifetime.
And that's terrible.
It's unbelievable.
Heartbreaking.
It's a reckoning. And so what I wanted to do with American Humane was to create our first full-length documentary film. We call it Escape from Extinction. And what it is truly a clarion call to action for all of us to join forces and collaborate to fight extinction, to be able to collaborate across communities for change, to ensure that those species have a fighting chance. And so much of this is happening with the wonderful zoos and aquariums, the top in its space. Those facilities are driving meaningful change in their communities, and indeed, they lead in conservation around the world. And Escape from Extinction, I was so fortunate that Helen Mirren said she would narrate, and she has done a beautiful job of narrating this film. It's vividly beautiful images captured from many different continents, showing animals when what's left of their natural habitat. And what we're challenging people to do is to do more for our world, to be better stewards, and to help join groups like American Humane to save species from extinction.
Well, having Helen Mirren involved is a great thing because she's such an icon and someone I think most of us all look up to, and to have her voice as an ambassador in that film is a great thing. And also your work, I think you're making people aware of what's actually going on by creating this movie. And how can we see the movie?
Well, certainly it's debuting a theatrical release in 80 cities as we speak today, which is wonderful. We're working for a global distribution streaming deal, so I can't wait for that. But we've also been accepted into 8 film festivals around the world.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm so happy for that. That's just such a wonderful recognition. So every couple of weeks, another film festival has a streaming opportunity. They're all virtual now due to the pandemic. And so we're really happy to have that opportunity to show the world this film. And Jean, what I love and what I challenge people to think about is you and I, we're on the front lines fighting for animals every day. I wanted this film to serve as an opportunity to educate the next generation of conservationists, our children and their children's children, so they can continue the good fight. It's going to be a multi-generational effort if we're going to be able to protect species from extinction.
And you are so right on that. And to our audience, it is absolutely so important to teach the next generation about philanthropy, about giving, and then also about how they can make our entire world better. And that includes the animals, how to protect the animals so that we can have a better world moving forward, and that these rare species remain on this planet. And Robin, I'm involved with your organization, and I'm very proud to say that you have appointed me the national spokesperson for a program called Feeding the Hungry COVID-19 program. And I know all about the program, but I'd like you to tell the viewers exactly why American Humane created this important program during this terrible pandemic that has affected every single human being on this globe, and also the animals. And so, Robin, I leave it to you to tell our audience what exactly the program is.
Thank you. And I tell you, friends, we have thanked Jean so much for her national leadership of our Feed the Hungry COVID-19 Fund. It's due to Jean's leadership that we've been able to feed and touch 600,000 animals since the pandemic started. You know, in early March, when we started quarantines and lockdowns, we initially thought it would be 2 to 4 weeks, and then that kept changing. It's a public health emergency, and we recognized something that was happening that was dire. Jean, so many rescues and shelters were running out of money. They were running out of funds to be able to feed their animals. And I can't thank you enough, because it was due to your advocacy and leading the front lines that we've been able to offer almost 600,000 meals. I know we have an ambitious goal, because animals still remain hungry, which breaks my heart, and I know it breaks yours. We want 1 million meals available to these precious animals in crisis and in need. And thank you for what you've done.
Yes, and I think we'll get there. We have, I guess, another $400,000 to raise for another 400,000 meals. And Robin, if someone wants to donate to this program, can you give the website?
Absolutely. If you would consider opening your heart and funding this incredibly important initiative, the website is AmericanHumane.org, and we'd be mighty grateful. And the animals are grateful.
Yes, and to our audience, I am truly committed to this program, because just the way Americans right now are on food lines at different food pantries, the animals are in great need, and many of the shelters, well, their funding has dried up during this pandemic, and so they can't feed their shelter animals. Not only that, many shelters want to be able to give food out to people who are adopting and who maybe right now are having a little bit of a tough time. So this program, Feed the Hungry COVID-19 program of the American Humane, is life-changing for all of the animals in need right now. And in the United States right now, there's a tremendous need. And as the pandemic improves and things gets better, we still will have problems. These problems, I hate to say, but they don't go away overnight. So, Robin, again, thank you for initiating this program. It is my great honor to be involved. And I want to speak a little bit also. You've recently penned a book.
Yes.
And it's in the bookstores, I believe, now. And what is it about exactly?
Thank you so much. I know that you're an author. You know what it takes to write a book. It's a
lot of
tremendous
work.
amount of work. It's been a labor of love to put together the book Mission Metamorphosis. And what I wanted it to be, and first of all, thank you for your endorsement as well. I so appreciate it.
Of course, it was my honor and pleasure, because it's a great book.
Thank you. It's meant to be a story of how a nonprofit struggling post a recession in 2008 could still strive to continue its mission with limited resources, but not only strive, thrive, and really make a tremendous impact. And that's what we've done. And this is a business book designed to give leadership ideas and practices and principles, designed to also motivate those that are in the nonprofit, the social good space, to keep being persistent, to make sure you understand all that you can about the nonprofit financial structure, revenue, branding, marketing, and importantly, how you can drive program outcomes with a good evaluation, solid evaluation, to success. So it is a business guide, but it's also full of heartwarming stories about why we took good, solid business practices and took the time to implement them. And that's because we wanted American Humane not just to strive, but to thrive. And here we are in the pandemic. We're impacting almost 1 billion animals this year.
Really?
And when I look over the past decade, I've now served 10 years as CEO of American Humane. 10 years, a whole decade flew by.
And you're a great leader, Robin. You've
thank
been
you.
just extraordinary. And
Thank you.
not to interrupt, but if anyone wants to see your rating on GuideStar or Charity Navigator, this charity, the American Humane, is ranked among the top 10% of charities in the United States. It gets a 4-star rating.
Yes.
You might even be in the top 5% of charities in the United States, but a 4-star rating is a very difficult thing to get from GuideStar, correct? And
Yes.
you're repeatedly getting this title or this rating.
Absolutely.
And that's because of your leadership. And so I have to thank you. And I didn't mean to interrupt you, but we have about 11 minutes left. And one
Yes.
of the things that I really want you to speak about is your program for veterans, and then also your Hero Dog Awards.
Yes.
And so whichever you want to speak about first, because this charity is involved in so many different programs, I can't even count them all. But you start with whichever one you want to speak about.
Well, I'm going to start with Pups for Patriots. And you know, we all love our country, and we love those who've chosen to serve in the front lines to keep us safe in the war on terror. I saw a significant problem, a problem where so many soldiers and, you know, sailors and airmen were returning from multiple theaters, multiple deployments, and had suffered a high suicide rate, 20 dying a day, committing suicide due to PTS, TBI. I also saw a very high shelter euthanasia rate. We were euthanizing far too many healthy adoptable pets. And I thought, boy, if we could solve both ends of the leash by pulling that leash together, wouldn't that healing leash make a difference? So we created healing leashes through a service dog program that we called Pups for Patriots. We now have united 160 service members, veterans, with a service dog that's been trained under our new nationally developed training standards. And I'm so proud that those people will tell you some of the most goosebumps, chilly stories of how they didn't have a life until they had their service dog. They couldn't leave their home. I had a letter from a little girl, Jean, and she said, "Thank you for giving me my daddy back."
Oh.
And that's because
That's heart-wrenching.
we gave her daddy a service dog. It's a tremendous program. Pups for Patriots is saving lives, and we just are now in 8 states graduating healing leashes, and I'm so proud of that.
And I've met some of these veterans who are now have a service dog thanks to the American Humane. And Robin, all I can say is the gratitude and the words of thank you to American Humane, because they are now whole. And when someone comes from a war zone or a place that's not safe, and they come back to the United States, our servicemen with post-traumatic stress disorder, it's a tough thing. And so anything we can do to be helpful, I think, is great. And
Yes.
American Humane, you've really done this. And thank you. I guess you're the founder of that program,
Yes.
Robin.
Thank you.
Amazing, amazing. And one of the most fun things you do every year are the Hero Dog Awards. And they were back in October 2020.
Yes.
I understand you're involved with Hallmark as a sponsor. And can you tell our audience a little bit exactly what the Hero Dogs Awards are and why they've become so popular and why they bring so much hope to people?
Dogs are man's best friend.
So true.
So 10 years ago, we decided to pay it forward with the Oscars for canines called the Hero Dog Awards. I can't believe it's 10 years running, but we just aired our 10th anniversary celebration of the Hero Dog Awards with Hallmark, our beautiful partner, media partner with this incredibly exciting show. Each year we recognize 7 categories of working dogs: hero military dog, hero law enforcement dog, service dog, therapy dog, a search and rescue dog, and hero shelter dog. All of these dogs are nominated across our great country from their hometown heroes, and those dogs are then voted on by Americans.
And I understand 1 million people vote.
1 million votes were cast, which is unbelievable. So I
Which
think
is a
about,
big
boy,
amount of people that are very involved in watching this
That's
show. And
exactly right.
and tell me, there was the story of one dog that was actually working with little dogs who were born with physical defects or had disabilities. Can you tell us a little bit? I think his name was Mackenzie, and he
Yes.
was up for a nomination. tell us a little bit more about Mackenzie, because I think it's such a beautiful story. He was like a nurse to all these different dogs, and reading about Mackenzie just broke my heart. And I said, I want a dog like that. I have 5 rescue dogs, and for the audience, I'm Jean Shafiroff, and I'm now with Robin Ganzert. She's the CEO and president of the American Humane. This is an international charity that works with animal rescue groups and does a lot of animal work in Washington and elsewhere. And actually, they've been great advocates and really working in so many different fields. And so tell the audience a little bit about Mackenzie, because it's just a story that just is so beautiful.
Thank you. Mackenzie was born with a cleft palate, needed a life-saving surgery that the shelter just couldn't afford. So a wonderful woman named Sue, an animal rescuer, went to the shelter and said, I'll take that dog. She funded Mackenzie's surgery, and then Mackenzie came out of it, still wasn't doing well, had a bout of pneumonia. This little dog is a fighter, survived pneumonia, and then is several years later still with Sue and acts as a foster parent to all these other baby animals with special needs and disabilities that Sue continues to bring home and rescue and care for. I love seeing Mackenzie interact with other animals. It just is such a beautiful story of unconditional love. And this little fighter has paid it forward to all the other little baby animals who needed some extra TLC, because she was lucky enough to have Sue, and they're all lucky to have Sue. So Mackenzie is our 2020 Hero Dog of the Year, named on Hallmark's showing of our 10th anniversary celebration. I'm really proud that not only was Mackenzie the 2020 Shelter Hero Dog, but indeed the Hero Dog of the Year. That story touched all of our hearts.
Well, how wonderful. And it certainly touched my heart. And sometimes I read these stories about a pet and I say, well, when you hear about a dog like Mackenzie, it's hearing about hope, and it's hearing about the future, because I believe in the future many animals will be used more and more to help not only animals but more and more people. Yes, we have our service animals, but I think we've just begun to realize the value of animals to man and to other animals, and this is the perfect example of a great little dog. And Robin, we have about 4 minutes left, and there's so much American Humane does. Can you talk about some of the work you've done to change legislation to help animals in this country? I think it's fascinating, and I think it makes American Humane who you are.
Thank you, Jean. And I wanted to share with everyone who's listening, American Humane believes that we can build a more humane world. Coming out of COVID-19 pandemic, we know there's a solution for systemic change. We've actually created the New Deal, which is 10 points that we believe not only every country should follow, but indeed every community should follow. These 10 points will indeed allow us to repair the broken social contract that us humans have with animals, not just companion animals, but all animals in the world. If we can do that together, I know that will make us better humans, and we can all use that today. So our New Deal for people, animals, and the world we share is on American Humane's website. It is a 10-point policy document. It's been distributed to every party leader in our great country, but also around the world. We've done outreach to 100 world leaders proposing the New Deal.
Well, that's absolutely wonderful. And again, if people want to donate, what's the website? AmericanHumane.org. We would love to have any gifts to allow us to continue to do our good work, our fighting on the front lines to be the voice for animals. And another thing, if someone wanted to volunteer their time, are there volunteer opportunities? Maybe you could talk a little bit about the ambassador program that I'm involved with, and then other volunteer opportunities, because so many people, they may not be able to write a big check, and they may not. Their checks are very important, though, and never feel that if you're writing a small check, it's not of value, because it absolutely is. But many people want to be able to volunteer, and so volunteers are very valuable. And in a few minutes, just tell us about the volunteer opportunities.
American Humane has the oldest rescue group in our country, over 100 years old. We've been rescuing animals on the front lines of natural disasters and in times of conflict. Our rescue volunteers have incredible training. They're available. In fact, we have 200 available any day to respond to a hurricane, a flood, a fire. In fact, just a few weeks ago, we were responding to 2 different threats, a hurricane response and a wildfire response. Our rescuers are indeed humane heroes, humane angels, and those are volunteers who are specially trained to rescue animals.
So in other words, if one of our viewers wants to volunteer, they have to be trained, correct?
Absolutely, because we don't want to put you on the front line of a hurricane response without specific training.
Is there an application online?
Absolutely.
Great.
Once again, visit American Humane, hit rescue, and volunteer opportunities are there.
And what about ambassadors? When you look for
Yes.
the ambassadors, what exactly are you looking for?
Well, we're so grateful for your leadership as serving
thank
as one of
you.
our national ambassador, and of course the Feed the Hungry chairperson is so important. National ambassadors serve as our hometown heroes, our champions of compassion, who reach out to their communities and their networks and spread the news about the good work that American Humane is doing. National ambassadors have a wide range of talents and abilities that they bring to American Humane, and we're grateful for each one for their many contributions to our cause.
And Robin, we've just about run out of time. If you could say one last thing in 10 seconds, what would you say to our audience?
American Humane is about compassion, kindness, love, and the healing power of the human-animal bond. And I hope everyone will join us in building a more humane world.
Robin, thank you so much for joining us today. You are amazing. You are a woman who has done so much for all of the animals on this planet and people. This concludes today's Successful Philanthropy. I'm your host, Jean Shafiroff. I'll see you next week.